On today's Fixing Bugs and Stuff, we're going to install the rear cross member. Okay, we're going to prep the rear cross member. It still needs the heater tube that goes in here. So I have a video on that. I'll leave that in the link, or you can hit it here if you want to see what I did. But I'm going to prep this and get this ready, and then we'll move on. Okay, I prepped the rear cross member here. I added the tube. You can see I welded here in the back, welded in. No problems. Now I'm just doing a comparison here, and you notice the difference between the two. Besides the tube here, there's this piece here, and I don't know why these come with it, but this is like a straight flat plate, and it should be curved, and I'll show you that later. But there's no way to really bend this without screwing this stuff up here, so you're gonna have to cut it here, and I'll show you that. And look at the back of it. They're pretty much all the same in the back. They're pretty much all the same. So this screw we're gonna have to remove. I'll show you that as well. Just want to say thanks to Ben from Super Clean for sending me these products. Now, if you're looking at these spray bottles, they're kind of all twisted, and there's a small story behind that. I'll tell you right now what has happened. I mean, despite this being all damaged, this nozzle still works. There you go. Nozzle still works. I mean, so what happened? Here's the story. This came in, no problems. So what happened was, the package was in front of my garage door. My wife decided to run it over with her Camaro there. And this is the results from the box. It's all torn up. But so far, it didn't really spill much of anything. You can see the damage to it. I tell you what, the plastic that they use for this thing, if it can survive a Camaro running it over, that's a good product. It's a very good product. So what I have been using on my welds, I've been using this Super Clean here. It takes the grease off, and it says to put it on, don't let it dry, rinse it off. But what I have been doing is I put this on, let it sit for like maybe 10 seconds, and then I spray it down with water, and then I wipe it with a microfiber cloth, and it really, really gets my metal clean for me to weld. It worked out really nice. I can show you the weld. I sprayed it here on this guy here, and it gave me a nice clean weld. You can see how clean that is. That's without grinding or any type of wire brush. So it came out pretty good. So I'm happy so far. I haven't used the foaming yet. But the foaming is like for hard, really deep down grease areas. That's what the foam is for. It'll stick to it for a while and you let it sit. But everything else I haven't used yet. I do have a little bit of oil leaking from my tranny, so I'm gonna use this fluoro-absorbent stuff and see how well that works. But that's it. That's from Super Clean. That's my little side note. Okay, so I'm gonna begin to prep this to kind of fit it in the car. I'm not gonna put it in permanently yet, but I'm going to cut it here. And let me get a pen to kind of show where I'm gonna cut it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it along this edge here, along this edge, and we're gonna continue up. And over this way, right? And then we're gonna go straight up with it here. So you can see here. And that's where we're gonna end our cut. We're gonna cut this portion, this guy out. It doesn't really conform to the back. I can show you that too. We're gonna cut this here. We're gonna cut this flush here. This never really lines up the way you want to when you put on the fender in the rear. Okay, now we cut this off here, which is good. We don't need that piece. And then I cut off that threaded area here. We don't need that right now. So that'll come in later. But anyway, this is ready to be kind of fit up into the car itself. We have to do some prep work, and that'll be the next thing I'll show you here. If you look at that here, we're gonna cut a portion of this out because it's kind of rotten, but this is curved. This is not, doesn't go straight, flat. Doesn't go straight at an angle. It's curved. So we're gonna use another piece of metal. I'm gonna trace this out here to cut a section of it. But I'll show you what I did over here on the right hand side. So I did the same thing here. I cut a portion of it out and welded it in. And it's metal's just as thin as here. It's a little thicker here, but it's pliable. You can bend it. And when you put in the rear cross member, there are like approximately three pieces of sheet metal that overlap each other. So you can see like this gets tucked underneath here. This goes on top. This goes behind it. So they kind of like overlap each other. So I just set this one in here just to see, and then I'll take you to the other side, and you can see on the other side, the back side, what it looks like. Okay, this is what the back side looks like. As you can see, this is still loose in here, but it kind of fits up pretty good. This is where the seam sealer comes into play. It will fill in these gaps that you'll have, as you can see. And also, we're gonna have to add some, maybe some holes for spot welding, that flange that's on the other side. But it seems to work out pretty good. That's what it looks like underneath. So definitely have to put holes here to spot weld, but it's coming together pretty good. So we're gonna do the same thing on the other side, just prepping it. We're not gonna weld it in just yet. This fits in here. See that little notch here? It's like a little, it's kind of a notch. There's provisions to put this in for the tube to fit in properly. So that'll be next. I'm gonna fit the other side, see how that looks. And I'll show you what I'm gonna do. Okay, the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna mark this area here where I'm gonna be cutting. So I'm gonna cut out some of the rot. That's the portion that I'll be cutting out. This is already separated already. So that's the piece I'm going to be replacing. Okay, got most of it cleaned off. I'm going to use the super clean here that I mentioned earlier and clean this area. This is what I'm doing with it. And then I'm going to rinse it with water. And I'll wipe it down with a microfiber cloth here. Clean her up. Let it dry for a little bit. And then I'm going to paint on top of this. Let it dry for a minute. Okay, now it's dry. I'm going to spray it with primer, weld primer. So, get a good coat of that. And then we'll let that dry, and then what we'll do next is we'll cut out a piece of metal, shape it up here, bend it to wherever we need it to be looking. Hit this little curve, bend it to that, and then fit things up. That'll be the next thing. Things are not going in permanently; they'll be temporary. I still have to do the heater channels. I just want to make sure everything fits up right. Okay, this is dried. To cut this piece right here, I took like a half of a manila folder, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shove it up here, like that. And then I'm gonna put my hand underneath of it, behind it. I just want to get that shape that I'm looking for. All right, so I'm taking the manila folder, I'm shoving in there as best as I can. I'm gonna trace it out. Trace out the cutout area. I'm gonna press up against this wheel well here so I get that contour I want. So this is the shape that I have now. As you can see, this is how I'm gonna cut the metal. So what I'll do is I'll cut this piece out, and then I'll place it onto the sheet metal, and then I'll trace it and then cut that out. So let me cut this out first. Okay, I cut this piece out here. I'm going to fit it up here. It looks pretty good. It's following the contour here. So that's the shape you want. You want to be able to curl it or curve it to where it needs to be. And the next thing, I will lay this down on the sheet metal and cut it out. So this is the weld that I use for the front. So this extra metal that I had earlier, so I'm just gonna cut a portion of it. Probably put this on here and just trace it out and cut it. Okay, cut that piece out by hand. Now I'm just gonna kind of shape it in here. As you can see, you can see here it worked out pretty good here. So the next thing is shape it with my hand. It's pretty thin metal. You can just bend it with your hand. Try to get this contour as best you can. Okay, I shaped the metal here. Sitting it by itself, looking pretty good. I bent it with my hand and tried to get the best contour here. Worked out pretty well. So the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna weld it in and cut the remaining, probably trim this area here. It's a little bit much, but you'd rather have extra metal instead of not enough metal. So anyway, that's the next thing I'm gonna do. I'm going to weld and then trim it up. Okay, with this piece, I welded it on, kind of grind it down to make it smooth. I mean, you don't have to. You can leave it with the, nobody's gonna see that area. I put this rear cross member in, along with the other side is in as well. Just held it in place with this. Now, if you look right here, they kind of overlap each other. So there's extra material here. You're gonna have to cut. I'm not gonna do that just yet. My trimming is gonna happen when I put in the heater channels. So as of right now, this stuff is gonna just stay where it is until I get the heater channels in and put up the floor pan. So it's sitting pretty good. I know you see like a gap here, but this is bent. This guy's bent. But once it's all fit up, then you can start spot welding it in. But we should prep it beforehand. I need to make some holes in this flange here, so I can weld it to this metal here. And I have to do the same thing on this side. I have to weld holes in here to spot weld it to this. And same thing on this. Make some holes in here, spot weld it to this. So there you have it. Just prepping up the rear cross member, getting it in place. There is extra material here. We can look on the other side. Let's see how it fits up. Fits up pretty good here. You may have to do some trimming, a little here, a little there, but it'll fit up just nicely. You just can't just weld it in permanently right now. Even though it does have slider holes, so it will fit. I don't feel comfortable with it. I don't want to make these holes more slotted than needed. A lot of guys will fit this up, and then when they go put the pan on, these are off, and you have to slot the holes more. I don't want to do that. I want to fit it in there just right. So, yep, there you have it. Again, guys, this is just prepping up the rear cross members just to get them in before we put up the floor pan with the heater channels. The next video should be with prepping up the heater channels and getting them ready. So again, please like, subscribe, and comment, and thank you for watching.